reporting. We're talking about Matt Arthur and would Brad Arthur present the jersey. Well, as it turns out, his mum did it. It was his mum who presented it. So there you go. And his brother was there in a brace as well, Jacob Arthur. So nice little touch there from the Arthur family for Matt, who plays his second game in the National Rugby League tonight. 12 years removed. What about this? From the National Rugby League, he's been out of the game. Brian Smith makes shock bid to return as Eels coach, according to Adrian Prozenko of the Sydney Morning Herald. The former Steelers, Dragons, Eels, Knights and Roosters mentor felt he could get the best out of the current side, which sits in last position. In a lengthy meeting with Parramatta, he outlined his blueprint, which included bringing the club's former physical performance manager, Hayden Knowles, back to the fold. Adrian Prozenko joined Jimmy this afternoon and had this to say.
Brian Smith has expressed an interest in doing the job, pitched for the job. So there's a name that you haven't heard, a bit of a blast from the past. A guy who coached the club on 243 occasions, was the most capped coach until Brad Arthur surpassed him only last year. And he was looking to take that mantle back by trying to get the gig again, Jimmy. Well, I think it's a measure of the esteem that he's held in that they actually sat down and met with him and gave him the opportunity to pitch.
Wow.
I absolutely love it. Bring him back ASAP.
You know what? I loved. I was lucky to be coached by Brian Smith, and I love how he thinks about the game differently. My only concern is, and then a lot of people also say, the Walker brothers, and I actually love what they were doing at the time as well. But in any vocation, it's very hard. It's like the Walker brothers aren't even coaching at the moment. So how can they get a job? The game evolves so quick. Brian Smith hasn't been part of the game for 12 years. That is a long time. 12 years ago, we're talking about the 2012 Grand Final. That's Canterbury versus Melbourne Storm. That's a mile away. The game's changed a lot. In saying that, I would definitely have the meeting with him just to see where he's at.
Bring him back. Where's Hayden Knowles right now?
Hayden Knowles right now.
Is he Penrith?
No, I don't believe he's at Penrith. Where is Hayden Knowles right now? He was with Freddie at the Blues, I'm pretty sure.
Something happened and he was at Newcastle and a couple of players were off him, or Clemmer said something to him when he came on the field as a trainer. There was something like that.
Maybe. I'm not quite sure. Good fella, Hayden. We'll find out about that. Listeners, they may know.
Please start a hashtag, bring back Brian.
Bring back Brian. You know what? He would be handy in some capacity. He would be very, very handy at some... Oh, Hayden Knowles is at the Roosters, is he? Tourist.
According to his Instagram, yeah, he's at the Roosters. He's a special, it says here, NRL special teams at Sydney Roosters.
Okay, that makes sense. No, there you go. Well, there's a fair endorsement, having been with the Blues, and then Trent Robber snaps him up. Dragons are out of the race for Stefano Utoikamanu, according to David Riccio and Brent Reid in the Daily Telegraph. The Dragons have made the decision to withdraw their interest in pursuing talent of West Tigers prop Stefano Utoikamanu. The omission of the Dragons from the negotiation table will increase the chances of rival clubs, the Storm and the Raiders, who are planning to meet with the 24-year-old. West Tigers also haven't ruled out retaining Utoikamanu. I don't think Melbourne will be a factor here. You know why? I just don't think they once spent heavily on a front rower, and that was Jesse Bromwich. But it's not really what they do to pay at the top end. They generally masters of managing the salary cap. I don't believe they would spend that on him. If he goes there, he'll be going for unders. I'll say that he will not be at the Melbourne Storm is my best guess. Shane Flanagan says there's no denying Stefano's a wonderful talent, but so that we don't waste anyone's time, we've opted out to turn our focus elsewhere, both internally and externally. I like that because the Dragons to this point have been the ones hoping to go to the ball, but somebody else has taken the date.
Every player has come on the market.
This time they've walked away, so I like that.
Good for the Dragons.
I like that.
Do you think he'll stay?
It's good money, missile. I truly don't think, if you think about this, Payne Haas has never been man of the match in State of Origin or in the big semi-finals. People are saying that he might go down as the greatest front rower we've ever seen. Glenn Lazarus, one of the greatest front rowers we've ever seen. He never won a Clive Churchill medal after all the grand finals he plays in. They just don't have the influence. So if you think about the runs that Stefano or Haas can do, someone like a Matty Burton, if you want to have him on their 10-metre line, where some teams can kick it from the 50, he can kick it from the 30. There's 20 metres that he can make up in a set that a front rower might be able to make up an extra 1 metre on the field. I just don't see the value to the point where, West Tigers have sort of said, go and have a look around. We've offered you bloody big cash. And the other thing is, if you went through the history of time, number one front rowers, Josh Papali'i was a number one front rower a few years ago.
Yeah.
Aaron Woods was up there. David Clemmer was up there. It's a real turnstile, the number one front rower in the game. Because it's such a taxing role, it's a physical role, where Daly Cherry Evans, Cameron Smith, Crafty, yes, tackles. Tackles is not as hard as making runs. Making runs is where you hurt yourself. And it's those players who can go and play for 1,000 years. I just don't think you see the value in the top flight money for those. What do you think?
Well, if he comes back, so the other clubs, so are we left with the Raiders then? If you think Melbourne won't pay him big money,
Yeah.
is that his choices? Canberra or Tigers? Let's say he comes back and says, "Oh no, yeah, okay, I want to stay." Do the Tigers say, "Okay, well now it's $750"?
So it was $850, wasn't it? Is that the sort of
$850.
Okay.
5 years.
I'm not saying he won't go to Melbourne. What I'm saying is there's no way in the world, based on how I think I know about the Melbourne Storm, that they will offer someone like Stefano $800 to go play for Melbourne. It's just not their business model.
What do you reckon, Brooksy?
I agree with Shug.
I think they should
100%.
drop it. I reckon Tigers should drop it if he comes back and say, $750, hardball.
Their business model is saying, I see something in this Sean Bloor, and he's not going too top flight at the moment. I'll grab him. Ooh, I see something in Eli Katoa.
Yeah.
Ooh, I see something in Nick Meaney. That's their business model.
Yeah, and it works.
If they had free cap space and they had a few players that they could get for unders, I could see the scenario where they might pay a bit more because they've got Christian Welsh. Nelson hasn't worked out as well on this contract as previous seasons. I could see it, but I'm with
What if
you.
they could shed Nelson? Because Nelson apparently
Potentially.
is on $750. If they could shed Nelson,
that could be the
pay
move.
Stefano the $750.
That could definitely be the
But
move.
but even that, like 12 months ago, people were saying Nelson's the greatest thing since sliced bread. How certain are we that in 12 months' time Nelson's not going better than Stefano? We're not certain, are we?
No. I've seen a couple of good games from Stefano, but he doesn't do himself any favours when he plays a big club like the Roosters and just goes missing.
Well, and for Noel Blake, he's a risk, right? So we saw the start of the year for him. Like, what do we actually? It could be a masterstroke, the Cronulla Sharks getting out of Fanua Blake, but it could also go very pear shaped. It's just not a tap in. Payne Haas is probably the most consistent forward where you had to go, okay, well, Jason Taumalolo's come off the boil. You know, these physical roles, I don't love the big, long, heavy, long contracts. Anyway, that's just my view. Ivan Cleary had his weekly presser out at the foot of the mountains. The Panthers coach spoke to media today and provided an update on his son, Nathan Cleary.
It's 2 weeks away, so it's not locked in. But, that was the long-term plan at this stage. Yeah, he's tracking well. Just watching him and just the way it's been, the way we've gone about the rehab and, just watching him at the moment, I feel pretty good about it,
He also spoke about the reports they're talking about. They're already locked in for a period of time, but really making them Panthers for life. Talking about the two Clearys, Nathan and, of course, Ivan, potentially extending their tenure out at Penrith.
I love the Panthers. I've got no thoughts about going anywhere else. But, I'm still here for 3 years. That's a long time. So, I'm not really thinking about the future too much. I love being part of the community. I love the responsibility that we get to have an influence on our community. Love all the boys, all the staff. It's just a great place to be. I've obviously been around the block a bit, got a bit of experience at, building teams, but like I said, I'm just happy doing what I'm doing. We feel like we're remodelling our team a little bit as the years go on here too, losing so many players. So, it's fun. It's fun what I'm doing here, loving every minute of it.
There you go.
Do the Clearys live in Penrith? Is there a family house in Penrith?
Ooh, good question. What I did here was I heard once upon a time at some stage he might have been living on the beaches, but there was a share house or something that they had in Emu Plains or Leonay that they may stay there throughout the week, potentially. I don't know. That last point, was potentially on him taking over a new franchise. He's talking about how he can start rebuild things. Well, the Perth and the Bears, Perth and the Bears edge closer to being the 18th NRL franchise. Carianis, Brent Reid, Peter Bedell through the Courier Mail right. North Sydney and Western Australia's rugby league bid are on the verge of striking a deal, which will see the Bears brand back as the NRL's 18th team with a $30 million cost to be part of an expanded competition revealed. Positive talks were held in Sydney, with both sides meeting in Perth on Wednesday to discuss North Sydney's revamped plans, which will feature only one game at North Sydney Oval as part of the pitch, but having multiple games at the venue is no longer a non-negotiable. So, thoughts on the Perth Bears? It kind of feels like this is going to be it. This will happen.
Well, I thought we were on the verge only a couple of weeks ago of Papua New Guinea. What happened?
They're talking to the 19th team now. So that's
Why?
still... I don't know. They're talking about these guys coming in 2027 potentially.
You feel like a Papua New Guinea, Port Moresby-based team would be a lot harder to set up for this time frame in wanting to get an 18 team in a couple of years.
$300 million or something to do it?
Yeah, they got the money, but actually establishing the team, getting people up there, you're not guaranteed to get 30 players straight away.
Bruising, right? So I mentioned the other week I played golf with ScoMo, right? Yeah. But that was through the Rat. Rat was Rat's golf day and his dad's golf day. So he got us in a team. That's the only reason why I played with him. He loves the Sharks, loves Matty Rogers. So I asked him a question. I said, ScoMo, can I ask you a question off the record? What do you truly think about the PNG bid? And I want to hear it from a government sort of point of view. Do you think it's necessary? He said, you can put this on the record. He said, yes, I do. I think it's very, very necessary. But he said, it is not realistic to play out of PNG. So he believes it would have to be Cairns, right? So if that was the case, is it a Clayton's team? Is it really... Because could you just imagine, right, if you're playing... Apparently it would be very tough living conditions. They'd be in maybe a gated community, whatever the case may be in PNG, which would be very tough, not being able to live life as most people know it here in Australia. Could you just imagine that a year, 2 years into it, 18 months into it, whatever the case may be, is you're not getting much of a run in first grade? How many people would pull the homesick card?
Oh, yeah, big time. But you can't have a club called the Papua New Guinea Hunters that don't play out of Papua New Guinea. That bit sounds more ludicrous to me than people living in a gated community. Like, if you have to pay overs because you got all this government funding and you keep half of it off the salary cap or something like that just to get people to play in Papua New Guinea, that sounds more realistic than having a Papua New Guinea team in Cairns. Because do you think people from Papua New Guinea can afford to buy plane tickets and come to Cairns to watch the team?
No,
that's rubbish. There's no point having it.
But that's the conundrum, right? Maybe that's why, as you said, Brooks, you can make it happen earlier in Western Australia. Like, maybe it's all this red tape still trying to work it out with the government. But he did say, he said it is very, very important to do this because just from the government point of view, obviously China, their situation, he said the people in power, he mentioned, I don't know the name, my apologies, but the Prime Minister over there in Papua New Guinea, champion person apparently. But what happens if that person is no longer the Prime Minister or the President of PNG, which is James Marape? James Marape is the Prime Minister, Brooks, or President?
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. So apparently he's a ripper, absolute ripper bloke.
Yeah.
But you're not to know what the next person's going to be like.
Well, if he's a ripper bloke, shouldn't he just align with us anyway? Does it need a football team?
No, but that's what Scott was saying, that very comfortable with this guy there.
But if another guy comes in, he may not side with us.
Yeah, or girl, whatever the case may be. Yeah. Speaking about governments, the US presidential election, gentlemen, what are you really gambling with? Donald Trump is a $1.62 favourite.
Hell yeah.
Kamala Harris.
I bet my dad, I bet my dad $100 on this like 2 years ago. I said, you watch, Donald Trump will be president. And he said, no, you're kidding yourself. So bet me on it then.
Kamala Harris. I think she's very impressive, $5.50. They have to make the move. They have to make the move, Missile.
Yeah. It won't. I don't think it'll be Biden. I kept hearing, let me run down that list. Yeah, this one.
Newsom.
Gretchen.
Hillary? Whitmer.
Yeah, I was hearing Gretchen.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. My birdies might be different to your birdies.
Gretchen Whitmer, former host of Big Brother.
Trump's got it in the bag.
What about the names? Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, Robert F. Kennedy. So a lot of the famous surnames keep turning up. Biden's a million to one, surely. 1300 01 1170. We continue with the NRL news. Chad Townsend spoke with Jimmy this afternoon on his program. He's the halfback who'll be joining the Roosters, and he had this to say with Jimmy this afternoon.
I met with teams both here and overseas, and if there was a meeting, I wanted to take it. I just really wanted to see what was out there for myself. The Roosters came in at the last minute, and it was really appealing. So Robbo sort of mentioned to me, obviously, they've got Sam Walker there who's, done an incredible job, with the Roosters, and he's got a massive future ahead. And obviously, the Roosters have just invested in young Sam Smith as well to, be the future of the club. So my role is, more or not just to be coming in and to help these guys, where I can. I've made it also pretty clear about my interest outside of football. And obviously, Jimmy, as you know, TV, radio, and the media and footy media is something that has always been a big passion of mine. And not only do I get to bring my family back to Sydney next year, but I also kind of get to get my foot in the door in that area as I sort of head towards, the next phase of my life.
There you go, Chad Townsend. Catch up on the full chat with Jimmy through his podcast. What do you think of the signing?
Weird.
Yeah.
He said he's there to help out the young halves, but what is Cleary booted? He doesn't have a job next year.
Cleary's retiring.
Yeah, I know, but he's still around the club. They said they were going to keep him. They've already got Cooper Cronk there as the halves coach.
Yeah.
Is Chad Townsend going to teach the young halves better than those two? Or is he actually going to play halfback and Sam Walker shifts to 5'8", which I hate, because when Walker played 5'8" and Cleary at halfback, they were shambles.
I tell you what, I think what they've said, both Chad and Trent Robinson yesterday, is exactly the best thing to say. But I think privately Chad will be thinking, I'm going to win the halfback spot. I don't think Chad would really be going there. Chad would be going there. He's a competitive professional athlete.
Yep.
He would be going there to try and win himself a comp wearing a starting 7 or 6 jumper. I've got no doubt about that. But both him and Trent are saying the best thing to say, so you don't destabilise these youngsters coming through. But there's no guarantee that he doesn't play 75% of the year next year.
I don't see how it's. I saw a few comments on social media where Roosters fans are like blowing up about the decision. It's a 1-year deal, and they've lost a lot of players, and you need to fill your squad up.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you bring in a veteran halfback for 1 year that, like you said, Shug, that might come in and go, you know what, I want to try and make this side. Yes,
Well, of course he's going to be.
I've
What would he
been
be
brought
getting
in.
paid?
300?
300.
You reckon that's about right, Brooksy?
I'm not
I
sure.
know
Yeah,
the Bulldogs were in for him.
Yeah.
I think they would have paid him more than 3.
it depends what you've got for
to
that
play
space.
halfback.
To starting halfback.
At the Bulldogs.
Bulldogs?
Yeah, he would have been. That's what I got told, that they wanted him.
If he's for the
Just
right
for a
price,
year to fill in before Mitch Woods is ready to go.
you've got to spend the money, right? You've got to spend that 12.3 or whatever it is.
Maybe
over
they've
your
dropped
30
off
positions.
thinking that Toby Sexton can do what they need.
I'm not sure.
Is Chad better than Toby Sexton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Premiership halfback. I just don't understand it, because I thought they were shambles when they couldn't make a decision who their halfback was last year. Were you going to go back into another season not knowing who your halfback is? Or have you told Sam Walker you're definitely our halfback, Sandon Smith's our 5'8"?
Well, that's what he's pretty
and
much
this
said.
guy's here to mentor you.
That's essentially what he said.
And if I was Sam Walker, I'd be going, what? The guy from the 8th place Cowboys is going to mentor me, the 4th place Roosters? Well, I don't think there's enough gap there for him to come and mentor him. I don't get it.
I honestly think he's a depth signing who really, depending on how everything goes next year, could play. But they're saying all the right things politically. We're backing the youngsters, Smith and also
Does Chad
Sammy
have
Walker.
a house down Cronulla Way still?
Caringbah, yeah, I think so.
Caringbah,
I
yeah.
think
So it makes sense for him.
I think so. 1300 01 1170. Isn't Cleary playing in France? Yeah, retired from the NRL. He's going to France, isn't he, Luke Cleary? I think you'll find he's going to Catlins.
There was chat. I don't think the Catlins have released anything yet.
Oh, okay.
But sounds like it's pretty close.
We'll keep an eye on that. That is for sure. Yeah, a lot of those texts coming through as, hi, boys. Kamala Harris is a dead set dribbler. I haven't seen much of it, but there you go. 1300 01 1170. Pick one and a winner each for the chance to win $2,500. Head to snsurvivor.com.au. All thanks to Bryden's Lawyers. It's the run home with Joel and the Missile on your Thursday. Plenty more still to come. Matty Johns will join us after 5 o'clock, and we've got plenty of sports update to get through.